For the final time in the year 2024, it's XMas Football Friday. The whole crew is here. We brought TJ back from the dead, and what a week and weekend, an extended weekend we have coming up here. All kinds of stuff. Hope everybody's had a happy, safe, and healthy holiday season. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, however you determine it. TJ, welcome back from the dead, my friend. How was your Christmas as you're on the recovery mend here?
Christmas was great. And it was great. It was great.
Vegas
As
back.
you can tell, I'm trying to put thoughts together still. That part of the back from the dead has not recovered yet, but it was a good time yesterday.
This thing and this thing and this thing not working.
No,
Matt, what's going on, dude?
Man, oh man, TJ. I don't know. That sounds like you guys had one heck of a Christmas.
Yeah, well, you know, it happens from time to time out here.
That's why they say hanging out with Bill's Mafia is hazardous to your health. And before we get into the football side of things here, guys, and a lot to talk about, obviously we knew if we didn't get good games in the first round of the college football playoffs, the conversation was going to start, and boy, has it ever. But I got to go back before we go forward, because that's kind of what we do here. And it got me thinking in the Christmas spirit, and everybody's got their holiday movie marathons. And real quick, off the clip here, we're going to go a little rapid fire. And I'm going to start with you, Vegas Mac. Favorite Christmas movie of all time? And if it's not Die Hard, you suck.
You know, the funny thing is, I'm relatively new to the Die Hard thing. I've only watched it once, ever.
Shoot the glass.
And that was last year. So I'm still a little foggy on the Die Hard thing. If I had to pick a favorite Christmas movie, I'd have to go with Elf.
That's not a bad one. I'm a little hot and cold when it comes to Will Ferrell. TJ, favorite Christmas movie of all time?
I'm going to go down the unconventional road, and I'm going with Die Hard. And then one that doesn't get a lot of play, which is totally a Christmas film, is Trading Places.
Ooh, that's a good call there. That's a really good call.
I have another one. It falls into that line.
Of course you do.
It's not really a Christmas movie, but it's centered around Christmas, and it's one of these weird movies that I really like. It's called Serendipity. Yeah, it's a chick flick. But it's
not really sure how I want to. You can keep explaining. I'm trying to form how I want to react to that.
I'm just telling you, it's much like, I think, Die Hard. It's just centered around the Christmas time where the main part takes place. It's one of those movies is when I see it. In fact, my wife got it for me on DVD a couple of years ago. I love it that much. It's one of those things.
Well,
I can't say anything about the DVDs. I was going to make a DVD crack, but now that we're kind of settling into the new place, my fiance busted out all the DVDs and put them on our new entertainment center in front of our TV, in front of the thing that's supposed to be a Christmas tree that the cats just think is a giant ball of fuckery that they can do whatever they want with. I don't know why anybody still has DVDs, but I get it.
You know,
DJ, help me out here.
I am a big fan of the DVD. I'm a big fan of physical media. So, you know, I've got my DVDs. I still buy CDs because I think it's the best quality. I'm a big fan. But, you know, you can't go wrong with Kate Beckinsale, though. I'm not going to lie about that.
Right. And here's the thing. You know, Mike doesn't have any kids. He doesn't know the value of a CD player in a car on a trip with kids.
I wish that was true. And I do understand the value of CD players in the car with my children. My fiance still has she's got the old school, like, busted out 4 CDs per side, and she still throws them in our old sled while we're driving around everywhere. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what is that? See, and here's the thing for me, and you guys know this because, you know, you guys have known me a long time. Like, I have the attention span of a gnat. I don't like watching movies. It's just not my thing. Give me a show that I can watch 3 episodes. This is one of the reasons why I think Dick Wolf is the greatest television producer that there is going there, because on a Wednesday, I can sit down and watch 3 Chicago shows, and it's 3 separate episodes. And to me, it's like I'm watching a 3-hour movie every Wednesday. I just can't do the movie thing anymore. I don't know what it is. Mm-hmm. My dad, every week when I send the touchdown scorers to help our buddy, our Monday Night Nerd, Monday Night Mike out, and he'll tell me who he wants to pick for the touchdown scores, and it's always like coded in movie things. So like every time Dalton Kincaid has been available, he'll just write Roadhouse, and I have to decipher who he's guessing for his touchdown pick based on movies. And he's like, I thought you didn't watch movies. And I'm like, I don't watch movies, but there's still certain ones that I get. And obviously at this time of year, they get vomited all over the place, all over the television. Hey, it's an elf marathon. Why do we need to see it 8 times in one effing day? Are we that lazy?
Yeah, well, all I know is, Christmas Eve at our house, there's that one show that's on all night long. My wife loves it, but after a while, it kind of gets old.
You, and we're going to get into this here very shortly. You last week were ready to start Elf 5 minutes into the Tennessee-Ohio State game. Like
we did. It was great.
All right, let's go to the first round of the playoffs. I'm never going to get out of this serendipity rabbit hole here with you. Let's talk about the first round of the playoffs, guys. And I'll say this: do we want to see great games? Of course we do. But Mac, you used this in your recap on Monday, just kind of looking back at the first round of the playoffs. How many times have we seen a 16 seed beat a 1 in the NCAA tournament? 2 times. So we're not always going to get good games. We're not always going to need every play to go down to the last, every game to go down to the last play. There are better teams than other teams across every level of sports. What makes sports cool for us is when we see Dikembe Mutombo on the ground at the Key Arena, holding the ball up in the air when they upset the Supersonics. Those are the moments that we live for in sports. But at the same time, it's okay that there's better teams than other teams. And let's take it a step further, Matt, before we go here. Since the NFL has expanded the playoff format, we've only seen 1 7 seed win a game. So let's kind of keep it in proper perspective. Would we have loved to see, with all the hype of this 12-team playoff, some fantastic games? Of course we would have. But certain teams are just better than other teams.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, I think it has had so much hype that it was bound to disappoint. It really was. I mean, we kind of set ourselves up for that. I mean, to think that you're going to have 4 really good games, I was, as we're previewing, in my mind, I'm thinking, maybe 1, maybe 2 games. Other than that, we kind of thought some of these other games were going to be a little bit of dogs, but really, I mean, they were not real good. I mean, they were not real. I should say good. They weren't real competitive, and I think that's all we care about. I'm like, it doesn't have to come down to a kick at the end or a last second drive, but I think we wanted to see it a little more competitive than it was, and that's why one of the things I said at the end of that little drop was that this isn't what the committee was looking for. They want these games to be a little more balanced than what they were, and I didn't see that. I saw the scales tipped one way or another. Definitely the home team had the advantage.
Yeah, and TJ, and I'm trying to search back here for your exact quote. I can't remember it, but it's on the lines of, this is exactly the argument against expanded playoffs, to indirectly quote you. And I think there's a lot of people that do feel that way, but it's like, what do you want, man? When we had 4 teams, we were bitching about the 5th and 6th team that didn't make it. Now we got 12 teams and we still want to bitch. Like, let's let this thing play itself out. We could be sitting here, TJ, on the precipice of 4 fantastic games in the quarterfinals. We could be sitting here on 4 more blowouts. We don't know.
Well, yeah, you're exactly right. But I think the point that I was trying to make was, we gave up a lot of cool stuff with college football. We gave up a really cool bowl system. We gave up a 4-team playoff, or at one time it was a +1, or should have been a +1. We gave up a lot of cool stuff. And after watching, and let's be honest, I think I maybe watched like a half of each game because they were so horrible. I think there's a lot of buyer's remorse out there right now because of the products that were put out there. And here's the thing too. Like, they went from 4 to 12. There ain't going back to 8. It's not happening. There's too much money in it at this point. you're not going backwards. So we have to either work with what we have, or we need to find something else. And I guarantee you, if we find something else, it ain't going to be 12 teams. It's not going to be any less than 12 teams. But I think there's just a lot of buyer's remorse out there right at this second, which can all miraculously go away at the end of this weekend if we have 4 fantastic games.
Yeah, and before we get into those 4 fantastic possible games, Mac, like one thing I wanted to ask both of you, and you can finish your thought here before we jump into this. Who stood out the most out of the first round to you? And I'm not looking for the winning team that did it, but go ahead. Finish your thought there.
I was just going to say, I always like to compare it to the FCS playoffs in a way, just to kind of see, what the difference is. But for the most part, you look at them, they got their top 4 seeds in there as well, So it was interesting to me to see, nobody ever complains about that part of the process. It's just all the different conference champions get in. But when it was all said and done, you ended up with the 4 top teams anyway. And it kind of feels like that's where we're headed. And I was going to say, football is just different than basketball. Basketball, you can have 1 or 2 guys and you can kind of take over a basketball game. You can't do that with football. Football's a different beast. And I just think it's going to be difficult in the playoffs. These teams that are bigger and better are going to just kind of rise to the top, just because that's just the nature of football. It's just a different sport.
Yeah, and I think everybody would agree, like the one game that's getting credit for being a decent game, if you want to call it that, is the Clemson-Texas game, 38-24. The Longhorns take that one in a game they jumped early. They're up 28-10 at halftime. Clemson got the first score right away. Cade Klubnik, 336 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick. Definitely outplayed Quinn Ewers, a guy we've talked a lot about. But when you look at what broke the game down, one of the things that you and I talked about last week, Mac, was Phil Maffa. And when he's gotten off for Clemson, they've been really good. And when he hasn't, especially over the last few weeks, they haven't. And Jaden Blue was the guy that took over that game for Texas on the ground. I was impressed with the way Clemson played, and I wasn't expecting that. But is there a team, do you guys, and I'll start and we'll go around the table here, Mac, team that stood out to you from the first round matchups? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a team that won.
I think more than anything, I think it was Ohio State, just because I think there was so much heat on that team from every angle. From, it's a home game, all the Tennessee fans that kind of invaded that place. I think there was just a lot going on in there. And they came out, from the drop and just put it to them. That for me, that made me think, if this is the way Ohio State's going to play, man, oh man, that game against Oregon is going to be pretty fantastic.
No, it won't be. TJ, who stood out from you for the beginning of it?
Penn State. Even though I'm still not a believer, and I'm interested to see how I'm interested to see 2 things. One is how that defense holds up next week. It kind of looked like Kevin Jennings and company they just couldn't get off to a good start. And once they were down 14, it was over. But that defense was so good. Holy smokes, they were good.
Yeah. And again, it's we've talked about it a million times over. It's the thing with James Franklin. It's like, how much do you trust him? Where does the leash of the trust go? And since you brought that up, let's just dive right into it. The first game, New Year's Eve, and it's the Verbo Fiesta Bowl right here in Arizona at the Cardinal Stadium, State Farm Stadium. You got number 6 Penn State, number 3 Boise State. This spread has been pretty large since it opened. We're still hovering around the double-digit mark here, and that screams to me horribly egregious on the Penn State side. Listen, you just mentioned it, TJ, so I'll come back to you here on the boomerang. Penn State's defense, the way they played, looked like they could beat anybody. And obviously we know what it comes down to with Boise State. Can you stop Ashton Genty? If you can, then you've got a damn good shot to blow Boise State out of the water. This is a building and a bowl game, if you will, that has created the blueprint for what Boise State is, why Boise State is a national powerhouse here. And the disrespect from the Vegas number jumped out to me right away. I've seen it as high as 12.5. It's kind of hovering around the 10.5 to 11 mark right now. I jumped on it at plus 11 for Boise just because I think Ashton Jeanty is that much of a dynamic player that despite how good Penn State's defense is playing, he's going to create some problems for the Lions.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Look, like I said, SMU didn't even look like they belonged on the same field once they got down 14. And once they got down, they had no chance of running the ball. Boise State, this is going to be interesting to see how, because other than Oregon, this is going to be the best defense that Boise State's played. And I think they played Oregon back in week 1 or week 2. So it's been a minute since they played a defense that's going to be this good. I'm very interested to see what they do with Jeanty. I'm interested to see if they find new ways to use him, because he isn't isn't like the guy that you think. He's not like the Scatabo who, when he'll take you can pass him out of the backfield. He didn't catch many passes out of the backfield this year. I think he caught about maybe 30. I'm going to be interested to see if that Boise State coaching staff finds different ways to get Jeanty loose.
Yeah,
that's what I want to see.
It's a great point on his receiving side. I mean, you're looking at games where he's, 2 catches, 3 catches. That's about the tops of the receiving side. And it puts a lot of pressure, Mac. And I know you've spent a lot of time watching this team because of their place in your household. I mean, it puts a lot of pressure on the other playmakers on the Boise side of the football, and mainly Maddox Madsen, their quarterback, 2,700 yards this year, 22 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I mean, those aren't just pissing a freaking pot kind of numbers for the sophomore quarterback.
No, and I think more than anything, what I learned from the first week, and I'm kind of taking it into the second week, is that these teams that we think are underdogs have to really play almost a flawless game. And I think that's what it comes down to. It's like, is Boise going to be able to play kind of that flawless game? I mean, they can't make a lot of mistakes. I watched now Penn State a couple weeks in a row now, and this looks like a different Penn State team than we've seen, even maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. They seem offensively, it's like a whole different team. And so, for me, like TJ said, Penn State's defense is going to be what's going to make them probably favorites, not only this week, but if they, as long as they're going to go on, that defense, we know what a good defense can do. We've seen it at every level. A good defense can win you a championship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what makes this game so compelling. And then just the nostalgia of Boise being back in the Fiesta Bowl, where, again, we've seen them make some fantastic memories. Looking ahead, as you just mentioned, they'll get the winner of Notre Dame and Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, and that game will be played in the semifinals of the college football playoff at the Capital One Orange Bowl in Miami. Around the room for the picks, guys. I'm gonna stick my line on this because I got them at plus 11. I like Boise State in the spot, and I do think that they have enough to win this football game.
I think they have enough to win. I mean, they proved that playing against Oregon. I still always worry. I was watching last week, there wasn't a whole lot of time. Now these teams have had an extra week off. You wonder how that's going to affect them. Now you have to start asking yourself, does the team that played the week before now have a little bit of an advantage over the team that's been rested, or does that rest kind of help? For me, I've always thought I'd rather play and get through it. With that being said, off of what I've seen the last couple of weeks, I like Penn State in this game.
Yeah, I like Penn State, but I don't like the number. So I would take Boise with the points, but I think Penn State wins this game.
Let's go to the next one in the mix. This will be the Peach Bowl on Wednesday. I believe Wednesday is New Year's Day, is it? I don't know. It's that time of the year where nobody knows what the hell day it is. But That's the next game, Peach Bowl, Texas, without Bevo, who can't be on the sidelines in Atlanta, against the Arizona State Sun Devils, coming off of the rest. We know the Cinderella story that is the Devils this year. We've talked about Dilly's squad quite a few times. This is another interesting matchup here because Arizona State's got a quarterback in Sam Levitt that doesn't make a lot of mistakes. We all had concerns going into the Big 12 title game with the loss of Tyson and how they would be able to go. Xavier Guillory said, no problem. You still got Cam Scatterbo there. I like this matchup for the Devils because it's the Devils against the world. And I know that cliche, especially in sports, especially in football, gets so overused. But this is a team that's not going to be scared of the moment. They're not going to be scared of Texas Mac. And I really like this spot for the Devils. They're going to have to play a near flawless game. But I like this spot, and I think they have more than a chance of what people are giving them right now at almost 2 touchdown underdogs.
Yeah, that number is really kind of interesting to me. I can't believe it's that big of a number. But again, I agree. I think this is, as I looked at a lot of these games, and I try to take the homer out of this as much as I possibly can, but I really think that this is a spot where ASU can actually win this game. We know what Cam can do. I know the Texas defense is good. But again, what TJ said, Cam's not a one way back. He just doesn't run. I mean, they use him in the Wildcat. I shouldn't say they use him in the Wildcat. That's pretty bad. They use him in the Sun Devil.
It's the wild scat. We found that
wild
out.
Scat.
Wild scat.
Sorry. But I mean, they use him as a receiver. And ASU can spread the ball out. They're not afraid to throw the ball deep. They're not afraid to run the ball. They can do a lot of different things. I think their defense is a little underrated as well. I think this is a spot where if ASU, again, I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I think in that underdog role, they have to play that flawless game. I'm not impressed with Texas. I haven't impressed with Texas the last couple of weeks. I think kind of, if you want to call it a little bit of an upset, I think ASU has a really good chance to win this game.
Tej, initial thoughts on the Peach Bowl?
Yeah, that number is scary high. But you're right, Mike. This team is galvanized right now. It is literally them against everybody. And after you're welcome. That's $1. So especially after last year, right? Last year was so atrocious for him. But Dilly kept saying, "Look, this is part of the process," and hashtag trust the process. We're doing that, right? That Texas defense, though, Max says he's not. I'm impressed with Texas defense. Sorry. They didn't get it done against Georgia, but they held him to 22 points in a backup. Granted, it was a backup quarterback, but they held him to 22. I thought they played great last week in getting ahead of Clemson and turning them into a one-dimensional team. Texas defense is going to have to wrap up on the first hit. They can't let Cam get loose after, because that guy is a beast after contact. Mm-hmm. They have to wrap him up. If they can wrap him up and take him from 10 or 12 yards to 1 or 2, make Levitt throw the ball, that's going to be huge for Texas.
I'm glad you brought up Sam Levitt, because we've talked a lot about Quinn Ewers and the Quinn Ewers Arch Manning placement for Texas. And we've brought up the exact fact that we think Texas is a better team with Arch Manning in at quarterback than they are with Quinn Ewers. When I look at a head-to-head quarterback matchup between Ewers and Levitt, here's another thing that people are forgetting. Sam Levitt is only a freshman. 2,663 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Levitt does not make mistakes. When you flip it over to the other side, Ewers has 10 picks on the year. And I know a couple more games for Ewers, but not that many more. We're not talking like, Levitt missed 6 games and Ewers missed 3. I mean, they were about even on the field playing time. I think that's the big key here for me. Even though Texas, I think, clearly has the better defense, Arizona State's got more of a ball hawking defense. They're going to create chaos, batted balls, stuff like that. And when it comes down to the quarterback play, Mac, I think ASU honestly has a distinct advantage here at quarterback with Levitt over Ewers.
Yeah, I mean, Levitt's been really, really good this year. There's no doubt about that. Like you said, just the way the diversity of their offense, they count on Cam a little bit, but he's not always the focal point of that offense. And they showed that. He was out a couple of weeks and they were still able to do quite a few things. So I I love ASU in this. Like you said, it's them against the world. I think this is a good spot for them. And my two concerns is this: I worry a little bit about sometimes Kenny's decision making. That worries me a little bit, and also the fact that their drives have to be extended because their kicking game is so bad. And I know we've said it, and it's bit them a couple of times this year. But this is actually the kind of a game where you want to pay off on some of those drives, and if they can't kick field goals and they get nothing instead of getting 3, it could come back to hurt them a little bit in this game.
Yeah, and TJ, when you break it down and like Mac just said, Dilly's decisions sometimes can leave you scratching your head. On the flip side, and we saw this again in the Big 12 title game, 4th and 1 or 2, whatever it was, and they threw a 20-yard pass down the field that ended up leading to a touchdown. That's a play Arizona State's used multiple times this year in that same kind of situation. Dilly's going to run a fake punt when he's vibing on it. And it's the Dan Campbell, and I say this to you first, TJ, because I know how both of you are on the Lions this year. Dilly's got a lot of the Dan Campbell in him. Like, yeah, you know what? Screw it. Conventionally, does it make any sense? No, but I've got a pulse on my team that's as good as it gets. And I think that's a very dangerous thing when effectively used to kind of counter on Mac's point there.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like that team goes as Dilly goes, right? He's just, and it's just a vibe, right? And I love the way that he calls his games. I haven't seen, other than that BYU mess, which I think he learned from. I mean, his play calling has been pretty straight fire the entire season. So, look, I agree. I think this is a great spot. I'm just a little concerned if one of ASU's prime weapons gets taken away, how are they going to respond? Because Iowa State sure as hell didn't take any weapons away.
No. Ohio State was literally like the equivalent of like the TSA guys that are just going through the motions. Like that was their whole defense the entire game. Picks around the board. I'll start. I like the Devils plus the 13.5. I think the number's too big here. And I'm using the same kind of theory I used last week that I liked a lot of the underdogs and the numbers. Obviously, it bit me in the ass last week. There's a lot of people that think most of these games are going to end up the same way. I personally don't agree with it. Taking the Devils plus 13.5. Vegas, Mac.
I definitely take the points. I don't think they're going to need it. I think ASU wins this game. I think this is the one. I just outright they're going to win this game. I got a feeling that Kenny's got these guys going in the right direction. He has them believing in what they can do, and I think that's the biggest thing. It's like if you watch this team play throughout the course of the year, they can get it done. They haven't been intimidated by anybody. I don't think they're going to be intimidated in this game. I'd like ASU. Give me the points. That just makes it that much easier.
TJ, are you going to jump on the money line train with Vegas Mac here?
I'm definitely taking the points. I'm not sure about the money line at this point, but a couple more cocktails tonight, and I probably be convinced of it.
You have plenty of time before Wednesday to down as much eggnog as you need to convince yourself of this.
Well, it might not take that long. Look, I love this spot for ASU too. This is every game that they play is like the biggest game of the year, right? But at the same time, they are the kings of house money right now. They are the absolute kings of house money. Mm-hmm. Nobody expects them to be there. Nobody expects them to get in the Big 12 title game. Nobody expected to roll. Nobody expects them to get a first round bye. Freaking, let's just keep on rolling.
And let's keep rolling on in the bracket here. Again, you can follow us across all socials at Mike Arana Show, including Blue Sky, not on Snapchat because it does absolutely nothing for us. Let's go to the granddaddy of them all. Yeah, and we're not 12. Also, I am 12. I am not 12. The granddaddy of them all, where we will be looking live at a massacre as Ohio State takes on number 1 Oregon. Couldn't ask for a better setting than this if you were the College Football Playoff Committee. Oregon sits waiting from the Big 12 title game, Big 10 title game, Big 18, 19, 72, whatever the hell it is. Ohio State, a team that we've talked about a lot, who typically has started slow this season, and that's got them into some spots. They definitely did not do that. So we have a team in Ohio State that got to kind of scrub and flush the Michigan game, and now they're in for a rematch with Oregon, who they've already lost to this year. And I feel like in watching that first game, Oregon and Ohio State, that Ohio State played about as well as you could have played at Autzen and still came up short. A couple of things go their way, different outcome. That being said, we've talked about this multiple times this year, and I'm going to start here with you, TJ, because you've had some interesting comments about inflatables down rivers. Oregon's been building for this. Oregon is built for this moment. This is actually not the shortest spread. It's hovering right around that dangerous field goal mark. I think this is going to be an absolute ass kicking in Pasadena.
I disagree. I think it's going to be, I think they got the number right. And the reason why is for a couple of things that you just said. Ohio State played as good as they could play at Autzen and came up short. This is not Autzen. So you are going to have Ohio State travels really well. This is going to be like a 50-50 split, the Rose Bowl. The weather shouldn't be an issue. It's beautiful outside right now. It's probably be beautiful in 10, 7, 6, 365 days. It's going to be beautiful. This is and Ohio State's on the redemption tour now. They've got the nobody's heard. I haven't heard anything about Ryan Day getting axed in the last week since that Tennessee game. I haven't heard anything but good vibes coming out of Columbus lately because they laid the law against the Volunteers. I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people. I think this number is bang on.
Yeah, it's bang on, but they got the wrong team favored in Vegas right now. Mac?
Man, I'm with TJ in this one. I have to tell you, I think Ohio State needed that loss to Michigan. I think it's the more I look at it, I think it's a perfect thing. You know, sometimes you need a loss, and that was a tough loss for them to take, and it created a little adversity. And I wanted to see what kind of Ohio State team was going to come out in that first round game, and that was a mean looking Ohio State team. Here's the key thing. They know they can play with them. They know they can. They were right there. That was a game they could have won. So they're just when you've played, and you know this, when you've played a team and you get to play them a second time, you know their speed. You know what they can do. I think that's an advantage. I'm not saying that Ohio State's going to win this, but I'm with TJ. I'm like I think Vegas got this one right. I think the number is going to be there. I think this is going to be a really close game.
I think Ryan Day has sucked both of you guys into a psychotic world of I'm actually here. There is no alternate universe that Oregon should be plus money underdogs. And I'm talking as of like early this past week on Tuesday, I jumped on this plus 114. It's not a big number, but it's a plus number for the undisputed, without a doubt, number one team in the country who's already beaten Ohio State. Like, why are you guys falling into this? Like, are you guys going to tell me next that we're going to see James Franklin and Ryan Day in the national championship game? Because that's the road you're headed on.
Wouldn't that be great? Nobody would win. They'd go to a soccer shootout.
Nobody would watch it either. Like,
well, then we definitely get a different system next year.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
There you go. How in the hell?
Maybe the committee knows what they're doing.
Underdog? This is ridiculous. In what alternate universe, TJ, do you see Oregon as a plus money underdog to Ohio State?
Because Oregon's defense is not as good as Ohio State's, because Ohio State is got the momentum right now. I agree with. I think they needed to that loss to Michigan. That was a huge factor for them. They needed adversity, and they got it. Holy smokes! It came in on truckloads. And if you want to get like really tinfoil hatty about this, okay, Ohio State cashed in with a home game last week by design, and now they're going to the Rose Bowl to take on Oregon. So I think this played exactly how Ohio State wanted it to play.
Mac, go ahead and follow. I'm really disappointed in the two of you right now.
Like I said, I still think Oregon's going to win this game. I just don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a close game. I mean, I think, 2.5, 3 points. I mean, I think they're right on line with this, but I don't see this as a blowout. I think this is going to be, I don't know if they can match what they did earlier in this year. I mean, that game was so good, but I think this is going to be a fun game. I think there's going to be lots of points scored. And I mean, this is one I'm really looking forward to.
Oregon 4-4 all time in the Rose Bowl, 17-20 overall in their bowl game. If you want, in their bowl games all time, if you want to go down that road, I disagree with you guys on a couple of different levels here. I think the Oregon crowd is going to be bigger than the Ohio State crowd. B, this Oregon team is just an absolute freight train, and you might be able to statistically categorize it as Ohio State's defense is better than Oregon's, but we've already seen them go head up on each other one time, and Oregon's defense won that game that night. I'm taking the Ducks on the money line. My stance hasn't changed from almost a year ago now when I said this national title and multiple national titles. Vegas Mac, make your pick.
Like I said, I think it's going to be a great game. I still think Oregon's going to win. But I think we're going to get a good game. I think this is going to be a fun one to watch.
Good job, Switzerland. TJ, who's up for you?
I'm taking Ohio State just to be different. Forget all of you. I'm taking Ohio State, and I'm taking the over. I think this is going to be a point parade. Look, these defenses are good, and it's going to be that proverbial who makes the last stop. And Ohio State had a chance to get it done last time, and they couldn't get it done. I think they learned a lot from that game.
All right, let's move on to the next one here. And we've got Notre Dame, who comes in off of a 27-17 victory over Indiana. And we all know the game was not that close. And they get a Georgia team that announced this week Carson Beck is done. So now we've got backup quarterback situation and a Notre Dame team that really looks like, outside of that hiccup earlier against Northern Illinois, the one loss that everybody still wants to discredit Notre Dame for. I hate to break it to everybody. This is the quarterfinals of the college football playoffs, and Notre Dame's playing as good a football right now as anybody. This matchup is the one I can't wait for, the TJ After Dark special, so we won't have TJ make a pick on this one. But I love this matchup for the Irish, and it's not just because we're looking at backup quarterback situation in Georgia. Mac, what are your first thoughts when you look at this one?
I think we've all been wrong about this Notre Dame team all year. I mean, after watching them, I'm really
Finally, somebody says something with some sense around here.
There you go. I'm really impressed. I think we get caught up sometimes in one game, and it's football. It's a long season. Yeah, they had a hiccup, but man, oh man, you watch this team. They just, in so many different ways. Let's be honest. We all knew Indiana was a good team, but man, they did not look like they even deserved to be on the same field as Notre Dame. I was really, really impressed with Notre Dame. And I know, Mike, last week you talked about, and you had Notre Dame in your final, I think, right? Am I right?
Yep.
I like Georgia, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to be right out and tell you I'm wrong. I can see Notre Dame not only winning this game, I can see Notre Dame taking home the whole trophy to touchdown Jesus.
Well, I guess there's only one thing left to do. Plan the parade, right?
That's right.
Look,
he went right to the parade line.
This whole thing with Georgia reminds me of Alabama when was it Hurts, they got injured, and in comes Tua, and Tua is the savior, and the next thing you know, Hurts is he's gone. So that's what this whole Georgia thing reminds me of. And I don't think it's a bad comparison per se, other than the fact that I don't know what to expect from Gunnar Stockton. Is he going to live up to his name, or is he going to be Pick Parade Stockton? Notre Dame.
There's two ways he could live up to the name, though, TJ, and you're very familiar with this. He could be a Gunner, he could be Stockton, and you can tie those together however you want to.
But Notre Dame looked fantastic last week. Indiana had no chance. That game was over. That game was over so quickly. And it was Notre Dame just kept on just coming after Indiana, and it was great. I enjoyed watching Indiana or who the hell's playing? I enjoyed watching Notre Dame last week against Indiana. I'm trying not to give
for
a trail
words. He's at a loss for words.
He's still on
well, I mean,
we're all on the recovery mend here. I mean, Mac might be the healthiest one right now. Every time you two jabronis make me laugh or cough, I feel like I'm about to shoot my kidney and my lower right rib cage out of the back of my back. TJ is drinking the magic juice to get him. You're the healthy one of the group here, Mac.
Yeah,
so
100% here. Look, Notre Dame's going to have to step it up. They need to come correct this week when they played Georgia. But I agree with you, Mac. They looked unstoppable. There's no reason why they can't make it all the way through right now. They're playing great. Riley Leonard is doing exactly what he's been asked to do. Don't freaking turn the ball over and make a few plays from here and there. And he's doing it. He's doing it.
Yeah, and Notre Dame, you watch him, it's just like, man, it just seemed like totally under control, balanced offense, strong defense, just every single part. I mean, they honestly look like a polished machine. It just, it looked like a bunch of seniors going up a bunch of freshmen in that game. I mean, it was a total mismatch. But I mean, I just love just their demeanor, the way they've gone about it. In a way, it's kind of like ASU because nobody really has really said, hey, Notre Dame's really that good. I mean, nobody has said it. They're not in the conversation of being a national championship team. And I kind of like that idea that they're like, hey, listen, we know we're really good. We're going to just go out and show you how good we really, really are.
I think 1,000%, Mac, they're playing that card. They're playing that, you know how it is, like bulletin board material, whatever the hell you want to call it. I think Notre Dame is thriving in that role, Mac.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this to me is a really scary team. I really, really like this team. And like I said, I know we've kind of talked about and kind of had a little fun with them, against USC and whatnot. But I'll tell you what, to really sit down and watch them play a game that was meaningful, I was super impressed.
Yeah, and when you go back to their game against Indiana too, like, and TJ, you mentioned this, that game was over pretty quickly. It was over the second Jeremiah Love crossed the 11-yard line on his 98-yard touchdown run. Mm-hmm. And if you look at his numbers, he only had 8 for $108. So if you do the math on it, 7 for, about 19 yards, or 10 yards. They didn't need him to. And I think, to me, when I look at this game, where it really comes down to, and we've talked about Nate Frazier for Georgia and how well he's played this year, but Jeremiah Love and the running attack that Notre Dame has, and with Stockton in at quarterback for Georgia here, you're really looking at Trevor Etienne, to me, the transfer from Florida, younger brother of Travis, who plays for the Jaguars. I think he's the key to this game, because when they brought him over, I don't think anybody at Georgia was expecting a total of 240 yards or 240 carries out of Frazier and Etienne, and about even yardage distribution here. This was supposed to be Etienne was their big fish, and he's been a little banged up. But TJ, I think that's where it comes down to here is it's Jeremiah Love and it's Trevor Etienne, and the winner of that specific matchup, to me, is the team that's going to win this game.
No, that's 100% valid. And then just taking this one more step. I mean, look, I know that Notre Dame has not played, the strength of schedule here is definitely on Georgia's side. Okay, I don't think that's up for discussion here. But, I mean, besides the USC game, 14 against a top 25 Army team, 14, 3, 14 against a good Navy team, 13. This defense is not giving up points. They're just not. And like I said, I know it's not murderer's row here, but I mean, look, that's impressive right there. what that defense is doing. So they're going to have their hands full with ETN. I completely agree with you. And I think if Stockton is smart, he's going to or if I should say, if Smart is smart. Did I say that? Damn, I said that.
That's what you did there.
If Kirby is smart, he's going to design plays for Stockton to get it just quick outs to ETN and have him do his magic.
Listen, one of the things we know about Indiana was as good an offensive team as there was. They were extremely balanced, and Notre Dame make them look like a second-rate offensive team. Let's just be honest. I think that defense is a whole lot better than we think. I mean, because I said Indiana was good. We know what they could do. That Indiana team offensively, as balanced as it was in the country, and Notre Dame, like I said, took care of them with no problem whatsoever. I think Georgia with a backup quarterback, it's hard to go into this type of game with a backup quarterback, and Notre Dame's just got to be licking their chops, I would think.
Yeah, go ahead, TJ.
Sorry, Mike, but at the same point. So I'm gonna turn that around too, because we've been talking about Notre Dame. I'm gonna turn that around. Stockton, there's no pressure on him. There's literally no pressure on him.
It will be.
Oh yeah, you're right. But like right now, there's no pressure on Stockton at all, because if he goes out and craps the bed, that's what everybody expected. But if he goes out there and keeps the game close, he's a hero.
But here's the thing: we know with the last couple of weeks we've been talking about Beck and him not playing all that well, and we knew they had another quarterback. What happens if this doesn't work out in the first quarter? What happens if offensively they're not doing anything? Georgia's got nothing to turn to. Okay, this is it. And so Notre Dame knows that. I'm not obviously going to scheme out the game plan, but I would assume they're going to bring a lot of pressure on this young kid.
Oh, 100%.
You would think so. TJ's not going to make a pick here because this will be the After Dark special. I'm not going to make a pick because it's part of my best bet. Mac, make your pick.
Notre Dame, easily.
Notre Dame, easy, he says. Let's transition to the NFL. But let's take a pause here. I got a thing, and this is going to be a new thing for us, where I just got to get something off my chest. And what happened to personal space? And maybe you guys have experienced this. Maybe I'm just a psychopath when it comes to this kind of stuff. But the other night, we're out enjoying some pre-holiday festivities at one of our new favorite local watering holes, since we're on a different side of town now. And I've got a guy at the bar trying to get the bartender's attention. And I swear to God, I could have charged this guy rent for standing in my effing pocket. Like, when did we get to the point, guys, where we just lost the ability for personal space? And like, maybe it's just me. I don't know. Does it bother you guys? Because homeboy, like literally, I could have charged him rent for my pocket. Like, get off my ass. Like, did it happen to either one? Exactly that, TJ. Like, straight up elbows, box out form, everything. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, am I the only one that experiences that bothers?
Nope.
Just me?
Nope, not at all. But and I thought that was one of those things that would stick around from the insanity from 5 years ago, and just giving everybody a little bit of grace and space. And that ain't happening.
Yeah. Like, seriously.
I mean, it's hard for me to tell.
The first shirts in our store are going to be like, please maintain a 6-foot rule.
I was going to say, it's hard for me. I got all kinds of little kids running around the house, and I spend, my working day with a bunch of middle schoolers, so they don't know a whole lot about space. So, it's my view is a little jaded sometimes.
Okay, I mean that's a fair point. So I'm just the psychopath here that it really bothers. Like, I'm way past the point in bars of turning around and just firing something out of my mouth that probably shouldn't be said when there's alcohol involved. But get the F out of my pocket, bro. Like, it bothers me.
No, it should, because there's no place for it, right? We all need some space here. We all need the ability to go do our own things and live our own lives, and get out of unless you're like asking me out on a date, then get the hell out of here.
I think I muttered it like intended to be under my breath a few times last night, but it was definitely not under my breath. I'm like, hey man, if you're gonna get all up on me, buy me a drink first. Speaking of needing
Exactly.
drinks, we're going to start on Saturday NFL action. The Chargers at the Patriots. Why the hell are we talking about this? Well, there is a team involved in this mix for a playoff position, and that is Jim Harbaugh is fighting Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers in with a win or a tie, or they're in with a Miami and Indy loss or tie. This is an interesting spot for a Charger team, guys, that I think has been kind of really hard to gauge this year. We've seen the new version of the Chargers, the Harbaugh style with the Chargers, the grinded out. We don't care how ugly it is. It doesn't matter who's got it better than us, and yada, yada, yada. A short week, traveling across the country. I still think, obviously, the Chargers probably do make the playoffs. But I don't know if you could just look at this game and go, yeah, the Chargers got this no problem here. Because I haven't gotten that sense from this Chargers team all year, Mac.
Yeah, the Chargers got this no problem. Have you watched the Patriots? What a freaking pathetic organization that is right now. They're just they can't figure it out. Mayo, ketchup, mustard. It's a complete and utter freaking disgusting mess in New England right now. You know,
ketchup and mustard are disgusting messes. So
yeah, I'm just saying. Kraft is muttering to himself, wondering what he's going on. They can't figure out. They're not even sure if they even like the quarterback they have. They don't like the plays that they're calling. The Patriots are an absolute mess. San Diego. Oh my gosh, the Chargers, Los Angeles. They're in Los Angeles. Yeah. See, I got all worked up. Holy crap. Chargers are going to win this game. The Patriots are just that organization right now is they're gutter material.
Wow. Mac with the howitzer. Go ahead, TJ, if your face isn't on fire, and follow that one.
Show me your lightning bolts.
That's what you should have said to the guy in the bar.
No, I felt like he was getting ready to show me his lightning bolt.
Look, I think that I'm gonna go with on Mike's side here, because I think what we're not looking at is the evolution of the Patriots here. They've of their last five losses, 3 of them been by one score. 2 of those games, actually all 3 of those games, they've actually had the lead. So this is a young team that's learning how to win, and this is part of the growing pains of the Patriots. I'm not sad about it. Like, as far as I'm concerned, they can lose every single game of the season, and I won't be sad. But from looking at the Chargers crapped the bed at home against Tampa Bay a couple weeks ago. I believe that was one of my best bets, but they looked horrible. And that was one of those things after they come off the game against the Chiefs, and you're looking at it going, well, they got screwed against the Chiefs, but who doesn't? And then they come and they just laid a complete egg against Tampa Bay. So now you're looking at it going, well, okay, what Charger team am I supposed to see now? And then they come out against Denver and played pretty well and did what they were supposed to do. So going across the country, not good. 10 a.m. start, I believe, out on the West Coast. Not always the ideal time for West Coast teams to play. I think this game is going to be a little bit closer than a lot of people think.
Yeah, and you look at it too, like not only that, again, the evolution of the Patriots, and I know at 3-12 that sounds kind of funny, but they're starting to just kind of let things be as they are. They're going to have a top pick, which is only going to help them going forward. I think it's a horrible spot for the Chargers here, and a team that hasn't entirely convinced me that they're in. I mean, Justin Herbert, 18 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's been great. Glad McConkey's going to cross 1,000 yards probably this weekend. Hell of a rookie year from him, and that's not to be unexpected there. I said it last week, and it didn't end up coming to fruition. I felt the same way about the Rams playing the Jets last week, and if you saw the first half of that game, I mean, the Rams didn't look great, and it was a slow, sluggish start. Same thing here, and the difference is the Rams are way more dynamic, English is easy for you, than the Chargers are when it comes to their offense. And that's where I think this is a tricky spot. Guys, we'll go around on the picks. Mac, you can follow me up here. I'm going to take the Patriots +4 in this spot.
I don't care if they're San Diego, Los Angeles, Albuquerque, or whatnot. I'm taking the Chargers.
Why does Albuquerque have to catch freaking strays in this? They did
No
nothing
joke.
wrong. DJ.
No, I'm taking the Patriots plus points. It's going to be it's going to be a field goal, and something's going to happen. And I think the Patriots.
We're not talking about the Chiefs. They already played this week.
Oh, my bad. I think this is going to be a lot closer than people think. The Chargers, their last 5, they've been involved in 5. Other than the Bucs game, they've been involved in 1-score games the entire way. I think it's another 1-score game.
Second game of the Saturday slate, the Denver Broncos at Cincinnati to take on the Bengals, who ain't dead yet, folks. And this is a team that still has a shot to make the playoffs, and is a team that you don't want to see in the playoffs because, yeah, their defense is god-awful terrible, but there's not many teams in the league that if it gets into a shootout, you can play with the Bengals. That being said, Denver, all they need to do is win or tie, and they're in the postseason. And I've talked a lot about this Denver team and Bo Nix and the progression of, and they're kind of similar to the Chargers. They don't have a lot of offensive weapons that jump out by names with the Broncos compared to the Chargers. The Broncos' skilled players are just young and developing, kind of like the Packers a little bit if you really break down, especially their receiving core. The Broncos need this game to clinch their spot, and the Bengals are fighting for their season. Of the 3 games Saturday, Mac, I think this one for sure is going to be the most entertaining one.
Yeah, I really like this one. Denver's fun to watch. They just seem like they're 1 year away. They just need like one more year to kind of cook a little bit, and they'll be all right. What worries me is that I don't know that Denver offensively is going to be able, to keep up with Cincinnati. Cincinnati knows they go in, we're going to have to score, 27, 34 points to win this game. And it doesn't really matter. They just go out and do it. I just don't know that Denver is going to be able to keep up offensively with Cincinnati.
Yeah, and that's going to be the interesting thing there is, can Denver keep up offensively with Cincinnati? On the flip side, can Cincinnati put up their numbers that they've been putting up against a really good Denver defense, TJ? I think that, to me, is kind of the underlying key matchup here.
Well, 100%. And I think that, Cincinnati's been pretty good lately, but their opponents have not been very good. And so I think that says a little bit about Cincinnati. Now, once again, you can only play the games in front of you, and full ups to Cincinnati for staying in this thing. And you know that I'm the first one in the group chat to rail on Joe Burrow every time I get a chance, because I don't know whether it's his new fashion sense or what the hell's going on. But this guy, the first sign of adversity or something going sideways, and I'm all over it. But let's call it as it is. He's brought this team within a fighting chance of a playoff spot, and all kudos to him. Can Denver keep up with Cincinnati? I don't know. They kept up with Cleveland, but that's Cleveland. They kept up with Indianapolis, but that's Indianapolis. It's a little bit different going up against, Kansas City versus going up against Cleveland. So I'm expecting to see a lot of points, though.
We left you out of this because you were under the weather last week, but Mac and I had a fantastic conversation about the shit show that is the Cleveland Browns organization. And what do we need to see out of DTR when Jameis Winston and Jerry Jeudy are as hot of a duo as there is out there? All year I've talked about this Broncos team, and I really like what they have. I think Bo Nix is not making mistakes. He's still a threat to run, but he's not running out of panic anymore. He's running when it makes sense. I like the Broncos on the money line here, Mac.
I can see that. I know they're a little bit better. Anybody's better than defensively than Cincinnati. But for me, I think because this game is in Cincinnati, it makes me ill. I'm going to take the Bengals in this one.
Oh, we'll give Mac a second to regroup there, TJ.
If you're going to spew in this. I'm taking the Broncos in the over.
Broncos and the over. Let's go in to some Sunday games, guys. We got Packers and Vikings. Obviously, a huge one. The Packers clinched their playoff spot on Monday night in that snooze fest against New Orleans, who could barely field a functioning team right now. The Packers are in. They don't really have a whole lot of room that they can go. They're probably not going to move off of their spot. Minnesota, however, has a lot to play for here. An impending game in Week 18 with Detroit, who we'll talk about in a second. But I critiqued Minnesota for a couple of weeks in a row. Their offense looked very out of sync, very dysfunctional. The last 3 weeks, whole different ball game. And I think this Minnesota team, guys, is as dangerous as it comes in the NFC. The Vikings about a point favorite. Wouldn't surprise me if this thing goes off as a pickup. This is going to be a really, really interesting matchup here because Green Bay doesn't have really anything to play for, and Minnesota has a number 1 seed that they're potentially playing for.
I love this matchup. These are two teams that I absolutely love watching. I've kind of started to kind of back the pack a little bit the last couple of weeks, and I just really enjoy what they can do with their running game. I said it last year. They had some playoff success. I really wish this game meant more to them because I think this. I really want to because I'm not sure about either of these teams. I mean, I could get my fraud button out for either one of these teams. I'm still walking the fence on both of them. I know I mentioned it last week. It's funny to me that here are the Vikings. You've lost 2 games all year, and people are already we're going to have a new quarterback next year and all this other stuff. It's absolutely funny to me. I mean, I don't know what else they want this Vikings team to do. I mean, besides, go undefeated, I guess. I know Minnesota would be happy with that, but this is a really going to be a fun matchup. I just wish, like you said, Green Bay had a little more to play for.
Yeah, and TJ, we say that, and I'll be fair to the Packers here. Green Bay still does kind of have some stuff to play for. There's only a 1-game separation between them and Washington for the 6 and 7 seed. Highly unlikely that they can get as high as the 5 seed, but in the NFC right now, you're talking about 7 seed you're playing currently, Philadelphia, and 6 seed you're playing at the Rams. There's a big difference there, and that's no shade on the Rams, but I think if you'd rather have a game you're going to go to, you're going to take the game at Los Angeles, where most of your home fans will drown out the LA fans, as opposed to going to Philly, which is as raucous and as rowdy as all hell. But here's the interesting thing, TJ, the dynamic of this whole thing with that Minnesota-Detroit game in Week 18. You're talking about Minnesota and Detroit here, and the 1-5 fall is a considerable drop, not just because of the 1-week bye, but your whole path to the postseason. Minnesota's got the world to play for.
Oh, 100%. And it almost feels in a way that team that plays the fewer games is probably going to be in better shape here. Just from a health standpoint, that's kind of obvious, but Detroit has been just foot on the pedal the entire season. I think that Buffalo game was just kind of it was a great game, but it was a misstep, right? So that was the door opening for Minnesota. Meanwhile, did you watch the other night that Green Bay game? Holy smokes. It was almost looked like they put the second teamers in the second half just so nobody would get injured for this coming weekend. It was and look, New Orleans stinks, but at the same time, the Packers, yes, I think they have a lot to play for here. I think they want to finish. I think they'd rather play. Get the 6th seed. Obviously, it does change your whole path. But from a better standpoint, for freak's sake, can we who's the receiver of the game this week? Is it Dontavius Wicks? Is it Jaden Reed? Is it Romeo Doubs? Who the hell is it? Because I would like to cash in some money on this, please, because I've been wrong 3 freaking weeks in a row.
Yeah, the Packers are a frustrating team to find any offensive skill position players for, and that's why, you heard Monday Night Mike last week. Went with an under running back attempt carry because that was the safest angle outside of the Packers blowing New Orleans out of the water. That was the safest angle because they have so many weapons. And here's the other thing. Here's the other thing, real quick, Mac, and I know you'll have some thoughts on this. I think a lot of us are jaded on the Packers because when we look at it, they have 4 losses on the season. They're 1-3 in the NFC North. Their losses: Philadelphia, Minnesota, Detroit twice. So 4 games by a combined 20 points. They lost those games. We're talking about the Packers arguably being a number 1 seed if the ball bounces the correct way.
And I know it's frustrating, TJ, for you because you don't know, what's going to be from week to week, but that's the success of the Packers right now. It's that, they spread the ball out. You want to take away the running game. We've got this group of receivers that we can throw to. Oh, we're going to concentrate on this receiver. Okay, well, we're going to run the ball down your throat. We got a couple of guys that can do that. Hey, and by the way, their defense isn't all that bad either. So that's what I'm saying. This team, like I said, I'm going to start to back the pack a little bit.
I think they have the best. I wouldn't be. I think they have the best young group of receivers coming up. No shade to Jordan Addison. Addison's played great, but as a whole, that group of receivers has been great. And I'm giving you crap. I'm giving him crap because I'm picking the wrong guy every week. But you're exactly right. That's what they're doing it on purpose, and they care 4 flips about my parlays, but they're doing what they have to do to win. And I thought the acquisition of Josh Jacobs was what put him over the top this year. Aaron Jones, he was good, but Jacobs is like a totally different animal. Holy smokes.
Too bad the Raiders don't get somebody like that.
You think?
Right. I'll start us off. I'll start our picks here, and I'm going to make a bold prediction when we're done with our picks here about the NFC North. I'm going to take the Vikings in this game because I think there's more for the Vikings to play for, and I think that's obvious. Way to go, Captain Obvious. There's way more for the Vikings to gain out of this. I don't think the Vikings are going to be looking ahead to next week because they are in that deadlocked exact tie with Detroit having the tiebreaker over them from their one matchup. I like the Vikings in the spot because of that. I'll make a bold prediction here in a second. Mac, who do you got in this game?
I like Minnesota in this game.
Your sides are at a high level this week. You are very undecided of which side of the fence to go on.
It's because I don't know what day it is. I'm completely off this week.
It's that time of the year, man.
Jesus.
All right, I've got the Vikes. Max got the Vikes. TJ, do you make it a clean sweep?
Nope, I'm taking the Packers. I'm going to take the Packers. I think this will be a statement win for Green Bay. Jordan Love has an opportunity. We've been waiting all year for Jordan Love to win football games and win important football games. You have a chance right now to win an important football game. Go do it. I think he does it.
All right, bold prediction time for you guys. You can bookmark this, send it to your friends. Come after me if you want to at Mike Arana Show on all of our social channels. The team that does not win the NFC North is the team that goes to the Super Bowl out of the NFC. That's my bold prediction. Okay. You're going to have Detroit or Minnesota. One of the two of them is going to win the North. They're going to have home field advantage throughout. The team that doesn't, I'm saying that's the team that goes to the Super Bowl out of an NFC that is about as wide open as we've ever seen it. Speaking
does the team that not win the NFC North have Blair Walsh at the kicking position?
What year is this first before I answer?
Because holy smokes, that's what I'm always reminded of when the Vikings get in the playoffs. I'm always reminded of that, and not good.
My family owned an establishment where sports were on television, and there was lots of beers and wings, also known as a bar. I still remember when Morton Anderson missed a field goal in a specific NFC title game, and a Vikings fan who had a horn helmet walked by the front door of our establishment after he missed the field goal, slammed his helmet on the ground. Horns went all over the place. Still one of my favorite memories of all time. I think this Minnesota team, guys, is that damn good, and I think they could win a Super Bowl. Let's stay in the NFC side because there's another game that's flying under the radar. It's on Sunday Night Football. It's going to be the end of this crazy Christmas week. Some people off next week. Some people go back to work for part of the week. Some people off for the whole next week. A whole mess. You're going to get to Sunday night. You're going to see this game on the schedule with the Commanders and the Falcons, and you're going to go, yeah, who gives a shit? It's the Commanders and the Falcons. Well, A lot of people in the NFC give a shit about this. The Falcons at 8-7 at top of the NFC South, and the Commanders off that big win that somebody called against the Eagles in a pretty interesting spot. The Commanders can still win the East, highly unlikely, but the Commanders can get into the playoffs if they win and Tampa Bay loses. The Falcons can win the South if they win and Tampa Bay loses. So we've got a little bit of an interesting situation on both sides of the ball here. Both teams trying to get themselves into the playoffs, with Atlanta somehow, some way, this team has the tiebreaker over Tampa, and Tampa looking to win their 4th straight division title. I think this game is going to be really, really good because there's a lot on the line here, Mac.
Well, I like this game because I want to watch Michael Penix play again. I mean, that was a lot of fun to see him play. I really liked him. I know he was part of your whole man crush last year. But I tell you, I'm still not sold on this Washington team. I don't know. For me, I don't know. I can't get my. I don't know. I don't know. They frustrate me. It's one of those teams. I just don't think they're that good. I mean, I know they've won. I mean, like this last week. I mean, okay, yeah, they beat Philly.
Don't do what you're about to do.
I'm gonna do it.
Oh my
Let's
God.
go. Listen, who was that quarterback for Philly for 3/4 of the game? Kenny, I can't throw the ball more than 2 yards. Pickett. That's it. They had no offense. When they had their regular quarterback in there, they scored 21 points. That game was over. And then Kenny, I'm going to throw the ball 2 yards. Pickett comes in. What did they get? 4 field goals the rest of the game? Come on. Seriously? You're going to tell me? Nah, no, frauds. Washington's
frauds. Oh, Jesus. Here we go. Does your birth certificate say born in Philadelphia? Because you sound like an Eagles fan right now. The only reason the Commanders beat us was because Kenny Pickett was in the game. Really? Because Kenny Pickett controls the defense that couldn't make a stop in the entire second half? Like, stop. You sound like an Eagles fan right now. If Hurts was in the whole game, we would have won. Because Jalen Hurts controls the defense now?
Well, no, but they would have scored more than 6 more points.
TJ, help me here.
Come on, TJ. You know I'm right.
Yeah, I can't.
Thank you.
I can't. Sorry.
Don't go breaking my heart.
I can't do it. Look, can we call it as it is here? Washington's a pretty good football team with Jaden Daniels. They are. Robinson is a good running back. Terry McLaurin was amazing. This team's you know what they're like, Mac? They're like the Broncos. I think they're 1 year away. And I
agree. I can go with that.
And I think getting Daniels was a perfect fit for them. Let's just hope that they don't have to host any playoff games, because we know what happened the last time they hosted playoff games. But this is a good football team, and I think that Atlanta is I don't know, man. I thought that Penix had beginner's luck, to be honest with you. I like Washington. I like their chances.
You're not going to get a bigger Michael Penix fan than me. And Mac, you alluded to it last year in the man crush and down the stretch of the college football playoffs. You know, I was all over Michael Penix. I still am. I think he's going to be a great pro. But I'm not like, to take one of TJ's famous lines, I'm not planning the parade because he carved up the Giants. Like, is that our barometer for like why he was exciting? Because he played the shitty ass Giants, who are hoping that maybe they can get Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders to play quarterback for them next year. They're still going to be the same damn Giants. Like, so I'm not going to like throw a damn parade because he carved up the Giants. I'm not. Do I think I still like the pick? Remember, and we talked about this a lot, like a lot of people on draft night questioned the pick. Why the hell did you just pay Kirk Cousins if you're going to do this? Well, here, let's just insert a variable into the equation. Pittsburgh hasn't re-signed Russ. They didn't re-sign Justin Fields. Is Kirk Cousins the next quarterback of the Steelers? because it seems to be that the Falcons are going to be perfectly happy with paying Kirk Cousins to go away, which is what we saw with Russ, and somebody's going to get him. And I love the fact that Kirk Cousins is seemingly not going to do any favors for the Falcons for being blindsided on draft night when they didn't improve the team and they drafted Penix. I think that's going to be a fun offseason story to watch develop. But this Washington team is a good football team. They really are. Whether Kenny Pickett was playing against them or not.
How old's Cousins?
I don't know. He's old.
50, 60.
30.
He's the next Rich Gannon. Book it. Next Rich Gannon.
I can very much see that. The team that needs one thing, just a little bit better quarterback play to get over the hump with a great defense and some good skill position players. So that takes Pittsburgh out of the equation because skill position players, well, they've got one, and he's a knucklehead. When you look at the rest of the teams, Kirk Cousins could be the guy that takes some other team over. It's not going to be the Falcons. That being said, I love Washington in this spot. I picked them at the beginning of the year to be my surprise team to go to the playoffs. And it wasn't just because it sounded cool. Like, they have the right veteran presence around Jaden Daniels to cover up some of the mistakes that a rookie quarterback makes. And when you break this down, this is a home game on Sunday Night Football for the new version of the Commanders. It's probably the biggest game that franchise has played in a long, long time. They can get in with a win. They're on the national stage. And Dan Quinn gets to devise a defense that takes on a rookie quarterback in his first road game, not playing against the Giants. I love the Commanders, and I love them big here, Matt.
I can't.
There he goes again. The damn size.
The whole Kirk Cousins thing, I can't even think straight anymore. And my visual of him in a Steelers uniform has
Rich
completely.
Gannon is such a good comp, though.
Yeah, I'd rather have Rich Gannon.
Oh,
is he available? Jesus. I'd rather have Terry Bradshaw.
Make a pick so we can move on.
Washington.
I got Washington.
Now that
I got
that's
the Washington. What are they?
Be careful here. We're going to move on before we piss anybody off. Lions and Niners Monday Night Football. Why are we talking about this? Well, we just talked about it a few minutes ago. The Lions still trying to capture that number one seed, which they can do with a win against San Francisco and a loss by Minnesota. Like the way this plays out because we can see it Sunday to Monday, unlike the rest of the scenarios this week. This is an interesting spot for the Lions. You have a 49er team that's now been officially eliminated. They're a mess. They've got some off-season issues. What Niner team even decides to show up? Who's going to be healthy enough to show up? And the Lions, again, it was Super Bowl or bust for the Lions this year. Any stock, and I'll go to both of you here on this. We'll start with you, Mac. Any stock that this is kind of a dangerous spot for the Lions?
You know they had this one circled 3 times on their schedule when they started the season. I mean, you know their coach, he circled it a 4th time. They're gonna take like this is the big. He's gonna make this to be the biggest game of the season. He's gonna say, listen, you know what happened last time we played these guys. You know what it was for. You know what our goal is this year. You know where we want to be, and the way you're going to get through is you got to not only beat this team, you got to stomp this team. And I know I'm a little worried with all the injuries, but it doesn't seem to matter. I mean, I just think that's kind of how the Lions have been all year. Like that's how they're going to build this game.
I think, and we've talked about it, TJ, a few times, the injuries and when would they catch up with the Lions, because you've seen so many great teams, and let's use the team that they're playing as an example over the past couple of years. So many injuries, so many reasons why they shouldn't get to the Super Bowl, and boom, here they are in an NFC title game, and that's when it finally catches up with them. I think now in where we're at, TJ, the loss of David Montgomery is the biggest loss of anything, and that's obviously no shade on Jahmyr Gibbs. He's 209 carries for 1,156 yards and 12 touchdowns this year. They've got a fully capable backup, but those two together were such a dynamic 1-2 punch. I think the Montgomery thing is why the Lions don't win the Super Bowl this year, if that's how it shakes out.
Well, you make a great point. And yeah, no shade on Gibbs. He's been outstanding. But, having that change of pace with Montgomery, that says that's huge. Going back to the Rich Gannon thing, Tyrone Wheatley and Zach Crockett and that whole nonsense, Thunder and Lightning. Yeah, what you talking? Let's go back in the Wayback Machine. But no, I mean, you're exactly right. I'm going to agree with both of you here. Mac, that Campbell.
Now you're Switzerland. Here we go.
And that Campbell had this game circled in May a billion times, right? They're going back to the scene of the crime. That was the hurdle that they could not get over. And so regardless of the fact that the 49ers are not the same 49er team that it was in January, regardless of that, the whole mental thing of going into the zipper and winning a football game, that's going to be huge for this Lions team. And they're on the national TV stage, and nobody else is going to be watching anything else but that game. This is a huge spot for the Lions. Huge spot. And they'll have already known what happened with the Minnesota game.
Exactly. And I think that's a big key there, because, you got the game in hand next week and you don't want to get down to that. I am going to make a Switzerland play in this game. I'm going to take over 50.5 on this one, because I don't know who's going to show up. I don't know who's going to be healthy enough to dress for San Francisco. And at this point, as we're talking here on this Friday before a Monday night game, we don't know what's going to happen with Minnesota. So because I like the number at 50.5, which is where I got it on Tuesday of last week, I'm playing the over in this game. Mac, what's your play?
I got the Lions. Don't think it matters. Circle it up 5, 6, 7 times. This is, like you said, TJ, this is a kind of a mental, for them, a mental game they got to get through. This is kind of like, hey, it's kind of like the start of their playoffs. That's how they're going to have to look. That's why they'll look. I don't care what that team is. It still says 49ers. They took away from us last year what we thought we should have gotten. We're going to give it to them.
That's a great point. TJ,
that was bang on, Mac. Good job. I'm taking the Lions and the over on this one.
You know what? Screw it. Just for some fun on the show. Niners on the money line. They've got to have some semblance of pride left to play for. Now, as always, again, follow us on all of our socials at Mike Arana Show everywhere but Snapchat, including Blue Sky, which is turning in one of our favorite communities. Shout out to all our Blue Sky followers there. Again, the next time we're going to talk to you is going to be in 2025. We've got some wishes coming up on our social channels for what we wish for in sports for the rest of the year. But for the final time in 2024, fellas, I bring to you the train wreck that is Best Bets. Tony, buckle up, because we know who has to start this one. And I don't have a helmet handy. Go for it, Mac. Oh, God. He didn't even wait this time. He just went right to the prop closet.
I got to end the year with a home run.
And Moss Football Friday.
What I got to do. It's got to be a home run. All right, yes. So here we go.
North Dakota State.
Home run for this year. Okay? The 2 baseball games. That's what we're betting on. We're betting on the 2 baseball games, the one at Fenway, the one at Yankee Stadium. They also happen to have 2 of my favorite teams. We got the Yukon Huskies going up against North Carolina. I'm taking North Carolina minus the 3 in that one. And then in the other game, we got the BC Eagles. They're taking on Nebraska. Yeah, they're pretty good. I'm going to take BC plus the 3.5. It's baseball. It's football. What more could you ask for? Home runs, baby. Home runs.
All right, TJ, I got to ask you this before you give us your best bet. Was there any part of you right there that was wondering at what point in that delivery he was going to hit himself in the head with one of those bats?
I was waiting. So waiting. Holy smokes.
I'm a ninja.
Like Tony
that was the most calm best bets I think I've ever seen him do.
Yeah,
that was pretty good though. I
had to be careful. These, by the way, these are legit baseball bats that we got from guys from spring training. This is a bat from Kristen Orfia. I don't know if you can see that.
Never heard of it.
I mean, like he only used it like 2 or 3 times. Oh, I gotta try that on camera. That's it. Like this is a legit. Like we're talking. And this one here.
Here goes the camera, TJ.
Yeah, this is a good piece of wood. It's major league timber, dude.
That's what she said.
I'm out.
Oh, TJ, go for it.
There are 2 bowl games that I think are under the radar, and I think they're going to be great. One of them is tonight, Syracuse and Washington State. The other one is in San Antonio, where I met Jesus once, and that is Colorado and BYU. In the swan song for Shedeur Sanders before he goes to a place that I hope he doesn't go to, I'm taking Colorado and the over. I think this is going to be the best non-playoff bowl game of the season.
You hope he does not go to your Raiders? That's breaking news on the Mike Arana show. Oh, you're carrying the train all the way to Vegas, huh?
Well, if they can't get Ashton, I want them to get Cam.
Do we sense a potential Eli Manning Chargers Giants scenario with, ironically, the Giants involved on Shedeur Sanders? Do we want to make any early calls on that one? Best bet for me. I got it. This one should be pretty self-explanatory. I got Oregon at plus money. I think absolutely disrespectful that they're underdogs. And I can't wait to see Dan Lanning kick Ryan Day's ass again, and on the granddaddy stage of them all. And I also got Notre Dame at plus money on the money line, not because of the Gunnar Stockton thing. It's because I just think Notre Dame is that damn good. And a lot of people still want to hold the Northern Illinois loss against Notre Dame, which at this point, get over yourselves, people. You only got to win 3 more games if you're Notre Dame to win a natty. That's not going to happen. But for plus 333 this week, Notre Dame and Oregon to win, that is going to happen right there. So lots of stuff going on. We've got the New Year's. Any New Year's resolutions that you want to drop out, Mac? Like safer handling of weapons during best bets segments? Anything? Any final words?
I'm just saying I might have got some stuff under the old Christmas tree that I can really use for new props this year. So just beware. Just letting you know.
TJ, any resolutions or final
The
words?
LA Angels have already been eliminated from the playoffs.
To everybody that has followed us through this journey this year, we thank you again. Tag a friend, tell a friend, at Mike Arana Show on all the social channels except for Snapchat, because TJ,
we're not 12.
We're not 12, and on Blue Sky, our favorite community. Enjoy your New Year's. Enjoy your New Year's Eve. Enjoy all the football. We went through the whole college football second round. The next time we talk to you, we're going to be talking to you about semifinal games in the year 2025. For TJ, for Vegas Mac, for everybody behind the scenes, I'm Mike. Happy New Year. We're out.